Hi, salam, and welcome to my first YouTube video. I'm Saracen786. I'm a British Pakistani Muslim, and I'm making my first video on me on the brink of leaving Islam. You see, ladies and gentlemen, I've been having a lot of doubts recently, and unlike a lot of British Pakistani Muslims and a lot of British Muslims generally, I've actually studied my religion. I've studied my religion to quite a fair degree, and I've been struggling. Initially, I learned my religion through some of the biggest extremists in Europe. People like Abu Hamza, Sheikh Faisal, Anjam Chowdhury, Omar Bakri Muhammad. I was originally committed to a global caliphate. Yes, just for the MI5 services, I threw this shit away a long time ago. I realised that I wasn't quite happy with that, but I'm now questioning whether that was the real Islam. I then moved on to this guy. As you can see, it's a video. I used to hang around with Dr. Zakir Naik, brother, a very important question, for a long time. I organised some of his events in London. I used to come to Harrow Mosque and I used to pray shoulder to shoulder, feet to feet with him, asking him questions. I realised this guy is a charlatan. He's a clown. And unfortunately, many people follow him and his Saudi-backed Islam. You see, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I haven't left Islam yet, but I am struggling, and I'm hoping for the intellectual people, they can maybe share their feelings with me, comment below. I want to get people engaged. I'm struggling for a few reasons, and I'm hoping the scholars of Islam, you know, even though I've messaged you so many times, you seem to ignore my questions on Facebook, or you seem just to dismiss my concerns. You know, I'm not important, that's why. You know, or the mosque committees are fighting amongst themselves, and you know, the Pakistani and Freshie scholars in the UK are doing no service at all for our towns and cities. Anyway, that's another video. I've got questions, so I want Muslims to answer me the following questions, because I'm seriously on the brink right now, and I'm covering myself for the fear of being killed. Question 1. How can you justify the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam marrying a 6-year-old and consummating the marriage at 10 in some riwayah? How can you justify the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam having 6 slaves? How can you justify the treatment of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam family, the Ahl Bayt, the great people who we are supposed to follow, who were murdered? Murdered by Muslims, not kuffar, not the infidels, akhi. It was by Muslims. Ali, who killed him? A lot of Muslims don't even know who killed Ali. It was a Muslim, yes. How do you justify that? How do you justify Abu Hanifa, who heads the Hanafi school, being killed? And how do you justify the torture of Imam Malik in the Sunni school? How do you justify that? Who did it? It wasn't the non-Muslims, it was Muslims. How do you justify philosophy's haram? I'm not allowed to use my brain. I'm just supposed to stick to this. 2 things, and you'll never go astray: the Quran and the Sunnah. But surely these are filtered through something called the aql. But oh no, akhi, you're not allowed to use your aql. You're not allowed to use your brain. Philosophy, you're not allowed to philosophize. How do you justify that? I have intellectual questions. I'm not allowed to use my brain. Music is haram. Oh, I'm going to go to the hellfire forever and ever because I listen to a bit of music. Even though scientifically we know that music opens up your mind and opens children's minds up and it helps them learn in the future. How do you justify that? How do you justify if I go to a darbar and there's qawwali going on, then I'm a grave worshipper and I'm going to hell for that as well? How do you justify the treatment of women? You know, you're allowed 4 wives, fair enough, okay, and you're even allowed to beat them all, but not too hard. Only with a miswak. Mustn't leave a mark, you know. How do you justify beating a human being and your wife at that? You know, how do you justify throwing homosexuals off the tallest building? I can't morally agree with that. How do you justify it? You know, how do you justify stoning adultery? You know, how do we justify cutting people's hands off like we see in Saudi Arabia? You know, it's disgusting. It's not ISIS, it's Saudi Arabia doing it. How do you justify declaring jihad on the infidels? And how do you declare, I can't justify it on my neighbours. My neighbours are lovely. I love my neighbours. I love them. I will never declare jihad or want a caliphate on them that subjects them to dhimmatude. Dhimmatude, that's another one. How do you justify all of this? I've got one final thing that I'll leave to the end of the video. But just to let you know, I have been looking for alternatives and I read this great book by the great Christopher Hitchens. God is not great according to him, and he makes you ask questions, and it begins the journey. Followed by, if you want a more scientific approach about God, you've got Richard Dawkins' Schools Muslims. I mean, what about the winged horse? Muslims believed in a winged horse that flew Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to heaven. You know, and if you want to know what's in the Quran, read this book by Robert Spencer. Completely schools Muslims. There's stuff in there that you don't even know about, but you follow it because your mommy and daddy told you to, huh? That's why. That's the truth, isn't it? Watch the videos of Tommy Robinson, who schools Muslims. Watch it, just Google his name, YouTube it. Watch how people can't answer him. And then how do you justify the treatment of one of the greatest ladies we have here, speaking out against Islam? Remember her name, Ayaan Hirsi Ali. A Somali lady who was treated horrendously, and it was justified by Islam. Justified by the mullahs. How do we justify this lady's treatment, who's now spreading the peaceful message of tolerance and humanity around the world? But I'm not an atheist. Don't believe I'm an atheist. Because I've been reading this great book as well, the Bible. It is an absolutely beautiful, beautiful book. And it's very tolerant. And yes, it has violent verses in it. But unlike Islam, those verses aren't justified, and they're not seen to go and subjugate non-Muslims, non-Christians. You know, they've moved on. Why hasn't Islam moved on? That's my question to you. So answer my questions, Muslim scholars. Even though I'm an insignificant person, now maybe I've made the video, you might want to answer me. You know, I want to thank people like Mufassal Islam, Introverted Smiles, who got me to start thinking about these questions. Mufassal Islam is a great Bangladeshi blogger. You know, then you've got people like Ali Dawah, who gets schooled every week in Hyde Park Corner, and I used to go there. He gets done. Watch the videos on YouTube. Got Dawah Man, Adnan Rashid, who, according to his own friend, is an ISIS supporter. You know, you got your representatives of Islam. What kind of Islam is this? And you see, I would leave, probably would leave, but I've got to grapple with the last question. If I leave, what happens? Oh, you see, we have an all-merciful God, Ar-Rahman, but if I do leave, then yes, you know, I'm born into a religion, but if I leave that religion, according to your merciful God, I get killed. Yes, I'm put to death. You know what the thing about apostates is. And you see, all of this video, I've been prompted to do this video, and I haven't done videos before because I was on Facebook, and I like to think I haven't got extremist friends, but people are posting that I can't wish my non-Muslim friends Merry Christmas. So just because you said I can't, and it's kufr akhi, you know, I'd like to wish my non-Muslim friends and my Christian friends a very Merry Christmas. Have a great New Year. Let's get the conversation started. Leave your comments below. I honestly want to engage with people. I want to see what your thoughts are. Put your comments in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel, because this is just the start. We're going to be discussing a whole load of these issues. I want to get different people's opinions, atheists, non-Muslims, people of different faiths, Christians, Muslims. Get involved. Maybe your mind will be enlightened. Who knows? And I do believe in La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, but I'm that close to leaving. Convince me.
If you like the channel, subscribe.